Good evening, welcome to Champions of the Future for the World Touring Car Championship Week 4. Not from Suzuka, as it says on your screen, as you would not be mistaken for thinking. It is from Watkins, Glen this evening. A very late change of plans on the circuit means that the two-race event this evening will both take place at Watkins, Glen. Me in the commentary box, Chris Cohen, joined once again by Adam Bath. Good to have you back, Adam.
Yeah, good to be back, Chris. Just shows you that the championship's going from strength to strength, but we're having to change the venue due to the popularity. So good to be at Watkins Glen. There was a lot of action here in the BSRTC a few weeks ago. So with 9 minutes to go in this qualifying session, I think we're in for a great evening's worth of racing.
Absolutely, and here's the scores up on your screen after last week's entertainment. Russell Laidler is out there on top, and he's got a good margin over Michael Hall, who's in second place there. Dan Blake in third and Ash Sutton in fourth, but one thing we haven't mentioned on the broadcast so far is that there is a drop score in this championship, so the lowest scoring week will be cast aside for each driver, and that makes our job in the commentary box a little bit more difficult, Adam, because we're going to have to do some mental arithmetic if we're to work out who's going to be the champion tonight.
Yeah, the drivers could try and make it a bit more easier for us by deliberately scoring low for this race meeting, but obviously they're not going to do that. They're going to go all out for the win. A 38-point lead then for Russell Laidler, in the championship over Michael Hall, and Michael Hall's currently topping the qualifying standings with Laidler in he's currently in 6th position. So Michael Hall's got the upper hand at the moment, but I think he's going to have to do a bit more than that to close in on Russell Laidler's 38-point advantage in the championship.
Dan Blake sends a message ahead of this broadcast to say that he is running late due to real life commitments and he will be qualifying, but he's very late into the session, meaning he doesn't have all the time he wants, but he is very committed to this championship, so he rushed home just in time to get in there. Good to see that he's now in the session, got the car out on the track, and he will be setting a qualifying time, although he doesn't have the same advantage that everybody else does with his full 20-minute qualifying session. Stephen Gray in 5th place in the championship after a good race win in race 2 at Zolder last week, and Adam missed out on all the action last week, but it was very action packed at Zolder, not one of the tracks that some of these drivers know that well, which meant that there was a lot more incidents than we would have liked to have seen ideally, but it did make for some great viewing, and it's all on the YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure, as well as the other 2 weeks in this 4-week championship. So a total of 8 races will be available after this evening's racing, all on Champions of the Future for your viewing pleasure. Let's go over to the team scores, where CQR Fusion are beating out Team EOR by only 27 points. I'm not sure if the drop score applies to the teams as well. If it does, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference because the lowest score for both of these teams is quite low, although CQR Fusion are lacking Ash Sutton tonight, which means that they won't score on his behalf, and Team EOR have got Dan Blake, so that could make a difference. It looks like that's going in Team EOR's favour, Adam.
Team AOR seems to have got the upper hand. Stephen Gray, he drives for Team AOR. He managed to win last time out at Zolder, so it's definitely going to be between Team EOR and CQR Fusion in terms of who is going to win this championship. Michael Hall, as he's saying, still topping the standings with 6 minutes to go, but I think those are the two teams that are most likely going to win this team's championship.
Favourite probably in the driver championship is Russell Laidler, who's out there on the track qualifying right now, currently sitting on a time of 1 minute 51. No, that's not the fastest time, that's his last lap, so it's a 1 minute 51.914. Yeah, that is his fastest time. He's going to need to shave 0.4 of a second off that if he's to overcome Michael Hall's potential pole time lap, and Ross Bygrave slips in there in second place. Sam Rosamond 7th right now, he's impressed, no end, and Felipe Porto, who struggled to qualify at Zolder last week, came through the field and get 2 very strong results. This surprising driver, we hadn't heard anything about him really before this championship started, at least I hadn't, and he's done nothing but impress so far, Adam.
Yeah, at the Donington Park race meeting a few weeks ago, he shone there, finishing high in the pack and really giving us some great entertainment. I just want to draw your attention to the car that's currently sitting in 5th place, Chris, Ashley Blake Hood. He was driving in the BSRTC last week at Brands Hatch Indy. That was his first touring car event, I do believe, on iRacing, driving for the Team Carnage outfit, and he had some really strong results, so I expect him to be up there again this time around.
5th place, so just behind Russell Laidler at the moment, ahead of Robert Fagg, and if he continues like this, he is sure to set a pretty good time, but he's off the track at the moment with only 5 minutes to go, so perhaps he's packed that one in a little bit early. Robert Fagg, you might remember him if you've seen any other BSRTC events, or even some of the other touring car events. He's a big touring car fan, is Rob, and it's good to see him back out on the track, even if it's just for the one race in this particular series. Robert Plumley is plugging away as ever, a privateer entry with a 1 minute 52.8 right now, which puts him down in 12th place. And a few new drivers this week as well, Adam. We've seen Frank Castillo last week, but Frankie Mayers joins the fray. I know he drives for CQR on occasion, but this is a very privateer entry this time round, a late entry from him. And Orlando Herrell as well. I'm not sure if he's going to be joining the race, but he has set a qualifying time, although it will be near the back, currently in 16th. So what can we expect from Watkins Glen in terms of these touring cars?
Expect non-stop action, Chris. In the BSRTC last season, there were some of the best free races I've ever had the pleasure of commentating on. It's different layout though to the layout that we were using in the BSRTC, but I still think we're going to see some great racing. A rolling start for race 1, of course, so we're going to be going into that tight 90-degree right-hander flat out from a rolling start. Then it's going to be the S's bends, which proved pretty tricky in the BSRTC, everyone trying to get into a single file to go through that complex, and then it's the fast run down towards the carousel and then onto the boot section. So quite a few iconic corners, and Watkins Glen is just a brilliant track to drive on.
Well, thanks, Adam. And then in the YouTube comments, David Baker himself says, looking forward to watching this one. Now, we know David Baker from the BSRTC, Adam.
Yeah, the reigning BSRTC champion. Good to see you watching, David, and hope you're having a great Christmas as well. We'll see you on the 2nd of January for the next race of the BSRTC, which is at Lime Rock Park.
And Mark Guest and Martin Hall joining us in the YouTube comments, and you're welcome to join as well, live or recorded, whatever you fancy with your comments and questions. That is absolutely fine by us. Ashley Blake Hood, meanwhile, is still in the 5th position. He has cut his lap time down a little bit, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think. He is back out on the track. We might only get a couple more laps in. So Michael Hall, 0.4 of a second faster than anyone else on the track right now with a low 151. Looks to be on for pole position, Adam.
Yeah, it's quite an intriguing situation going on at the moment, because Michael Hall is almost giving Russell Layla a tow around this Watkins Glen circuit. I don't know whether that's what Russell Layla's intention is, to try and get the best possible speed advantage, but he's definitely not going to set a lap time if he's too close to that car in front. He's just coming through the last bit of the boot section now, up to the top of this hill where he'll rejoin the circuit that the NASCAR race on, through this left-hander now, and he puts a few wheels onto the curb there. I don't know whether this is going to be a personal best. He's got the opportunity to set another lap time after this one, because it has a good line through that left-hander, and now down into the final corner, down to about 140 kilometers an hour, and out to the final corner. Let's see if he can improve on his time. I don't think he will, Chris, but he still will have another lap to try and improve. Actually, he does in fact improve his time. 1:51.841, so that's a tenth quicker than his previous personal best, but keeps him in 4th place for now.
And it's always a shame, isn't it, as a driver, when you're doing that and you're really pushing it on the limit. You've got the advantage in the draft, you improve your time, you're dead satisfied with that, and you just don't get enough improvement to beat the guy in front of you. So no position change for Laidler.
Ashley Blake Hood coming out of the final corner. Michael Hall and Russell Layla have both retired back to the pits. So let's see what Blake Hood can do across the line. 1:52.1. That is not enough to improve. However, Russell Layla, I've just noticed, has dropped down to 5th place in this qualifying standing. So someone has improved their time over the last few seconds.
Well, that's Alessandro De Bellis, I believe, has gone up there. Oh no, Sam Rosamond, I'm sorry, has slipped into 2nd place out of nowhere with a storming lap of a 1:51.6. which puts him, well, he is still quite a long way back from Michael Hall's best lap, but that's no mean feat at all. In actual fact, my timing screens are showing 1:51.2 and 1:51.5 at the same time for Michael Hall, so I'm not sure which one, but they are both fastest laps, so it shouldn't matter. Sam Rosamond has proven himself to be extremely quick around a lot of these touring car circuits. Excited to see what he can do when we come down to the grid, and indeed the qualifying session is over, but the cars out on the track will get to complete their final lap. And how about Felipe Porto? He can only manage 12th, so not the best qualifying from him, but we've seen him come through the field a lot in the races, Adam.
Yeah, we saw Donington Parkin working his way through the field, and I don't know whether he had a similar situation at Zolder last time out, but he'll be having to work his way from 13th on the grid. Cars just coming across the line now to complete their qualifying times. I think we've still got quite a few big names still to set a time.
Well, we have Smolensky, I don't think is racing this evening. Alexander Smolensky, another BSRTC favourite driver. He is not. He's in the session, but he hasn't set a qualifying time. So we possibly won't see him out on the grid. Just watching Aaron Gearing now coming over the line. His lap time is not indicative of a flying lap. And Blake Hood over the line.
1:52.6. So once again, he cannot improve his time. He will stay in his 6th place. No other drivers improving. We've got another car coming across the line. Don't know who that was.
We've got Ellis Stevens still out on the track. He looks like he's on a flying lap right now. Although he must have started that one quite late. Felipe Porto over the line. 1:52.3. So not good enough.
No, not good enough. He'll stay in 13th place.
So he's not afraid of taking a few positions during the race, because he came from 10th to 4th in the first race at Zolder last week, and it was a great drive. Although the one notable thing about Felipe is we haven't seen him do a lot of overtaking out on the circuit. So he made up this positions due to other drivers' errors. And, you know, fortune does favour the brave, as they say, but he might need to make some of his own luck out there on the circuit this evening. We'll have to see. 20 minutes of racing will follow this initial rolling start, and it will be a full lap around the Watkins Glen circuit under the pace car before we get going. But expectations from this race, Adam?
I think it's going to be pretty much carnage from the get-go, especially since it's a rolling start. We saw in the BSRTC the amount of carnage that we got into turn 1, and that was just from a standing start. So a rolling start, that's surely going to spell trouble for these champions of the future World Touring cars going into that first corner.
These drivers do have 2 minutes to get down to the grid. Last minute adjustments to fuel settings and any other settings on this car, and there are a wide variety of those, from toe and camber to wing settings and much more besides. So most of these guys will be running a low wing setting for this race because of the long straights at Watkins Glen, particularly the back straight, and we're not running the configuration with the bus stop, so we do have the full length of straight, which means the draft will come into play here, Adam.
Yeah, if you get a good run through the S's, you should be able to pull an overtake on the car in front. Keep referring back to the BSRTC, but we saw in the 3 races there how effective the slipstream was going down that back straight towards the carousel. So expect to see quite a few overtakes there, as well as a few incidents. We saw a few drivers trying to block each other going down that straight, and that led to some pretty big collisions.
It's always a danger, isn't it? The official rule is you need to leave at least a car's width on either side if there's a car up inside you. Otherwise, you know, carnage will ensue. But in the heat of the moment, it can always come down to who's got the most adrenaline, and not necessarily the most street smarts, as it were. As we're just about ready to go here at Watkins Glen. The pace car will lead this field away. A field of, I believe we have 17 cars out there this evening, and Felipe Porto is starting relatively near the back. You can see his orange car just right near the back, maybe the 4th from the back there, as the field is led away by, well, the pace car, but Michael Hall just behind the pace car there. And Michael Hall is very quick, so is it possible he could get out of the draft here, Adam, and just run away with this?
Yeah, I think he's sitting in the best position at the moment. He's got the inside line for turn 1, so hopefully no one tries to dive bomb him going down into this first corner. Also, a thing we need to point out about these rolling starts: once the pace car pulls in, it is not Michael Hall's obligation to go straight away. He can then control the pace. He doesn't have to go until the green lights go on. So watch out at the back, because we'll see the drivers such as Felipe Porto and Stephen Gray. They'll be trying to get the best possible run. And if Michael Hall doesn't accelerate until he sees the green light, we could lead to some cars concertinaing into each other.
And, well, the rule is, Adam, isn't it, that you can't pass another car until you go over that start-finish straight. So if that concertina effect does occur, then it's up to the drivers to somehow stay behind whoever's in front of them before going over that start-finish line. But after that, it's anyone's game. And it's worth bearing in mind as well, it is a long race, so you know, the old adage comes into play here. Races aren't won in the first corner. What we might see is a lot of cars going down to that turn 1, and especially the S's just after that, leading to the main straight, in which it's barriers both sides, and Kias and barriers don't add up to a very nice picture, I can tell you, especially not after what we saw in the BSRTC.
Yeah, we had a few cars going into orbit last time around. In fact, we had 2 safety car periods in race 2 and race 3 as a result of cars trying to make their way into the single file going through that S's section. So you'll see there's a whole load of runoff area going into that first corner, but then there's not much room when you begin going up through the S's. Just 2 big armcos lining either side of the racetrack.
Well, interestingly for me, Adam, Sam Rosamond has put in a very late qualifying lap, but a very good qualifying lap. He is the main target for taking down Michael Hall here. And by taking down, I don't mean taking out, I mean getting past him legitimately on the race circuit. We do have Russell Laidler, who can crown his championship achievements by winning it this evening in the absence of Ash Sutton. But Dan Blake is out there on the track, but he's going to be starting a long way down the field, and his shortened qualifying session is really going to hurt him here. It'll be a bit of a drag between him and Felipe Porto to see who can get the position going down into the first corner, but it doesn't bode well for Team EOR right now, who's both of their drivers are quite far down, Adam.
Yeah, I can't see any Team EOR car in the top 5 places, and I don't think there's any of them until much further back. In fact, might be outside the top 10. So we were saying at the beginning of the broadcast how strong Team EOR seemed to be after Stephen Gray taking a victory at Zolder, but it doesn't look like that now, as we are now heading through the penultimate corner, and we're about to get this race underway.
Michael Hall will lead the field for the Week 4, Race 1, World Touring Car Championship on Champions of the Future, here at Watkins Glen. We're just waiting for the lights to go green. There's the pace car. Michael Hall will lead the field across the line, and it's up to him when to go, but it looks like he's already gone, and it's going to be him and then Sam Rosamond, but side by side, just behind. DeBellis has got the outside line, and the positions are all changing on my screen, but looks like DeBellis has lost out, in fact, and everyone's clean through turn 1, which is good. DeBellis now down to, he's in 4th place, in fact, and Laidler's in 5th. So very clean so far.
Yeah, Michael Hall caught everyone by surprise there at the beginning. He just went as soon as the pace car pulled in. So down the back straight, there's a few cars slipstreaming, and I can't work out who that is as we head down the straight towards the carousel. Russell Laidler in 5th place trying to pick up a slipstream off to Bellis heading into the carousel, but it's anyone's guess who's going to get those positions behind.
Well, the carousel's going to end in tears if they go 3 wide into there, I can tell you. And we've got one car sideways there in the middle of the field. Is that... there is a big collision at the carousel. Yeah. 3 cars off there.
Ashley Blake Hood's one of them.
Blake Hood is off. Trying to work out... Roy Viveka is another one of them that's off. And Alessandro De Bellis is already back in the pits. So let's go back and have a look at what happened there and see if we can work that one out on the replay.
It all started off with De Bellis, I believe, Chris.
You haven't got the best cameras down into the carousel, unfortunately, but we'll see if we can switch to a better camera angle here. And yeah, a little shunt from behind there. That's gearing going through on the inside, I believe. And then we've got 2 sideways cars, and we are watching DeBellis in the centre of the screen with the ironically enough, the Carnage written on his car. No, it's not DeBellis. I'm sorry, it's Blake Hood. And DeBellis was sideways in a separate incident, I think. And the 2 Team Carnage cars did, in the end, cause quite a bit of carnage. And that orange car down at the bottom of your picture is Felipe Porto. And how did he avoid that collision? I do not know. Let's go back and have another look at that one on the replay, because that must have been a brown trouser moment for Felipe Porto. Just have a look at this in real time as well. Well, have you ever seen anything like that? On board with Felipe Porto as the Kia Optima of Alessandro De Bellis bounces in front of him, and he goes under the bounce, Adam.
Unbelievable. Well, Felipe Porto definitely managed to gain a few places out of that carnage going through the carousel for the first time. He's up to 8th place now at the end of lap 1. Michael Hall's got a 1.3 second lead. Sam Rosamond 2nd, Ross Bygrave in 3rd, but Bygrave better be watching his mirrors. He's only 0.4 of a second ahead of Russell Laidler now.
Well, I probably shouldn't have said that the first half of the lap was very clean, because I'm sure that's what led to that collision. But never mind. Bygrave under threat now from Laidler. One of the toughest corners on the circuit right now, but easier in a front-wheel drive car for sure. Doesn't make it any easier for Russell Layla to get through, who's currently in 4th place. And Alessandro De Bellis must be kicking himself because he had a great start in that race and then just binned it at the carousel, although we didn't see the incident, so we're not sure if there was any contact involved. The Poot Flap Dubbers driver is looking for a way round Ross Bygrave in front, but these guys are dropping off the lead now, Adam.
Yeah, Michael Hall seems to have gained his advantage all from him taking off at the beginning of the race. He's got 0.8 of a second, however that has come down from the 1.3 second gap that was at the beginning of lap number 2. So Sam Rosamond is starting to work his way in on Michael Hall. It's going to be interesting to see what the gap is this time around as they're lapping at full speed for the first time. Russell Layla only 0.6 of a second ahead of Aaron Gearing, who's now starting to work his way in as well. So we've seen so far throughout this entire season, no one's been able to actually get a gap over Sawn because they're able to pull them back in. I think that's mainly due to the slipstream.
Well, excuse me. It's interesting. I was talking to Mr. Gearing before the race. It was saying he's out of practice. He hasn't raced on this circuit in this car for a long time, and he was worried about his pace. I don't think on the basis of this race that he's got anything to worry about there, Adam, in 5th place.
Yeah, let's have a look at the lap times. He was lapping, in fact, a second quicker than Russell Layla in front of him. So, in fact, Russell Layla is now dropping off the back of Ross Bygrave in front of him. They're falling into the clutches of Aaron Gearing behind. So, we might now have a three-way battle for that 3rd place as we head down the back straight and into the carousel. Michael Hall has got a 0.5 of a second lead now, but into the right-hander, this superly long right-hander which now leads onto the boot section of the track. Russell Layla is definitely now coming under pressure from Aaron Gearing.
And it's a 3-way battle for 3rd place right now in the Champions of the Future WTCC from Watkins Glen. I think I might have said too many C's there, but we'll carry on anyway. And down into the last part of the boot section here, Gearing has the advantage because the next time we get to a long straight, all he's got to do is stay right behind that car in front and he will catch up in no time, although Bygrave's now under threat.
Battle for the lead as well, Chris. Michael Hall and Sam Rosamond side by side as we headed through the right-hander. Rosamond has definitely got a speed advantage now as we head up to the left-hander at the top of the hill. 2 great battles unfolding at the moment.
Yeah, fantastic to see somebody giving Michael Hall a good challenge, and you can see the gap there on the track as we've got a side-by-side situation just behind. Well,
yep.
Gearing's through. Gearing's past Russell Layla. Great move by Gearing, and he is up to 4th, but Bygrave's 3rd is still secure at the moment, and I hardly know which battle to focus on right now as Hall comes over the line again with 14 minutes remaining. And, well, Gearing's made that one work, but here comes Layla. He's on the rebound now. He's looking down the inside into turn 1. He's got to get on those brakes nice and late to be able to get past Gearing. Doesn't want to touch the back of his car and doesn't. But now Stuart Bunyan, Adam, joins the challenge.
Yeah, so now these guys are now dropping off the back of Ross Bygrave in front. What happened to Russell Layla? He was trying to go around the outside of Bygrave through that final section of the boot and just got nudged wide, and that's what allowed Gearing to get back through. And Layla had a terrible exit through the S's because, as you're saying, Bunyan is now right onto the back of Russell Layla. Down the back straight, is he picking off a good enough toe? Not good enough, because I don't think he's going to have enough speed to get past Layla into the carousel. So those cars still remain 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th for now.
Well, meanwhile 1 and 2 is still Michael Hall and Sam Rosamond. We know Rosamond's not slow, but the question is, has he got enough to get past? And meanwhile down in 9th place, Fran Castillo is defending from Felipe Porto, with Frankie Mayers just behind, and Stephen Gray, race winner from last week, is struggling, but in a good position for Team EOR in 12th, with his teammate Dan Blake just behind. Those cars we saw on the first lap, Adam, as well, are back out on the circuit thanks to the one free repair system. So it's good to see those guys back out, even though they did have some contact.
Yeah, good to see them back out there. They'll be getting points, I do believe, for remaining on the racetrack. And as we've seen throughout these races so far, if you finish on the lead lap, you'll be guaranteed a spot in the reverse grid for race 2, where the whole field that finished on the lead lap will be getting reversed.
So Michael Hall is pole position and still in the lead of this race. It's always tricky arriving into the carousel 2 to 3 wide, says David Baker in the YouTube comments, and he is absolutely spot on. Looks very fast into there, says Mark Guest, who is not wrong either. it's very difficult to get the car slowed down because of the variable speeds involved. If you've got a draft, you're going faster than you're expecting. But look at this, Gearing, Laidler and Bunyan have gone through the camera quicker than I can say those names. Gearing, Laidler, Bunyan, just about, as you can see. And we are now coming onto that main straight we talked about, so we've got a battle on our hands, Adam.
Let's watch then as Bunyan is going to pull to the right hand side. He still hasn't got an overlap on Laidler though going into the carousel, and he has to slot back in. He needs to stay in the slipstream for a bit longer so that he can maximise the speed off that Kia Optima through the right hander again. But as just on that back straight, Chris, Gearing is able to close up on Bygrave as we head down into the left hander, and he's now starting to put Bygrave under immense pressure through the second half of the lap.
Well, this group is 5 seconds down from the lead pair at the moment, but they're separated by just 1 second, all 4 of these cars. So it's anybody's game at the moment as it almost reaches out and kisses the back bumper on Russell Bygrave's car there. Aaron Gearing's very colourful Kia Optima is looking for a way through, and I would be very distracted if I were Ross Bygrave and I had that in my mirrors. But he's looking around the outside. Laidler forces himself down the inside here, and Bunyan's in the back of Laidler. Well,
yeah, that was the lunge from Laidler, and it could have worked. It was just Aaron Gearing managed to cut back across in front of Laidler, so a bit of damage there on Laidler's car, and they'll all still remain in their positions, and I'm sure in a lap's time they'll all be back battling for that 3rd place.
So it's no change in the 3rd place battle at the moment, with Bunyan still picking up the rear of this group. Bygrave's still leading it. Bygrave's been pretty impressive in this championship so far, but he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders with 3 cars waiting to come through there. Robert Plumley is the car just in the background there, as you see, in 7th place. Meanwhile, Felipe Porto is still trying to get past Frank Castillo in 9th place, and elsewhere Dan Blake is all the way down to 15th after what is perhaps a mistake there, and he is now in danger of not scoring too highly for Team EOR. Well, just coming back to the lead group now, 1 second interval there between Michael Hall and Sam Rosamond. But as Adam was pointing out before, that huge long straight means that as long as you stay in the draft, you have a chance. And it's possible, isn't it, that... Where's Sam Rosamond gone?
I don't know, Chris.
He's gone.
Yeah, he has. He's just vanished from our timing screen completely. I thought originally he had a connection problem, but I think he definitely has one now. Just before that happened, Chris, Aaron Gearing ran very wide into the carousel. He's now dropped down to 4th place and allowed Laidler through, and I'm sure Bunyan will soon follow him as well. So, nightmare for Sam Rosamond, who was in 2nd place.
Wow, Sam Rosamond either disconnected or ran out of incidents, which means he was disqualified. Bunyan being cut up there by Gearing, probably legitimately though, and he's going to have to try hardest to get through. Good opportunity for Bunyan now, coming down to the right-hander down the end here, but hasn't got the toe that he needs to get round there. He'll stay on the back bumper of Aaron Gearing. But Laidler now is not up to 4th, he's up to 3rd because we've lost Sam Rosamond. So Laidler is looking like he might make this championship even more secure than it already is. Michael Hall is on his case in the championship and will outscore him here, but it might not matter if Russell Laidler can earn enough points, Adam.
Yeah, I've just had a look at what happened to Sam Rosamond. The car just did vanish, so must be a connection problem for Sam Rosamond. Awful for him. He's now out of this race, and hopefully we'll see him back for race 2. So Ross Bygrave is now in 2nd place. 3rd place is Russell Laidler. 4th, Aaron Gearing. 5th now is Stuart Bunyan. So this is now the battle for 2nd place in the race. And these 4 are now 6.8 seconds behind Michael Hall in front, who's setting very decent lap times.
Well, we're just watching a battle between Porto and Castillo, and Porto has got past Castillo, so he is now in 8th place, jumping up 2 places instead of 1 from the overtake because we've lost Sam Rosamond there. And Castillo's not out of this yet. It took Porto a long time to get that position, and he's going to have to work to make it stick because here comes Castillo on the back straight. He's not going to have enough speed. Porto's defending the inside line. It's going to compromise his speed in the carousel as Castillo tries to go around the outside of the carousel. He's not going to make that one work. No, and Porto's managed to hold on to that position. But yeah, so 2nd place is still not safe, Adam, because Bygrave is under threat from Laidler, and then we've got Gearing and Bunyan, who've both caught right back up.
Yeah, Ross Bygrave seems to be the stopper in the bottle at the moment. I was just going to say about Castillo and Porto going around the outside. It's very hard to get a move around the outside, done into... Oh, is that Bunyan going around the outside of Gearing? It is. Is there going to be enough room for Bunyan to get the move done? Yes, there is as well. Side by side between Gearing and Bunyan up to the left-hander. Layla gives Bygrave in front a nudge as well, and they're still side by side now as we head through the left-hander. Bunyan giving Gearing the nudge. They continue nudging each other. Come on, guys, sort yourselves out into the left-hander. Bunyan should have the move done now. Yes, he does. Stuart Bunyan up into 4th, Gearing down to 5th.
Gearing's not going to be happy about that one. I don't think either of those drivers have any paint left on their doors after that one, but I'm sure, this being touring cars, that there's lots of spare doors lying around in the garages. Here comes Layla though, trying to take 2nd place away from Bygrave. He's not quite got it on the brakes, so Bygrave will hold on to it, but Layla's got a good run now through the S's onto the main straight.
Yeah, Bygrave making the most of that runoff area on the exit. No incident points are picked up for going over that area. I know, I've used it. Through the left-hander and onto the back straight. Now Layla didn't get the best exit, I have to say, for the S's, and that's definitely going to give him a speed disadvantage now as we head down the straight. Stuart Bunyan now starting to pull away a little bit from Gearing, half a second advantage in fact, and as we head into the carousel, I think they're all going to remain line astern unless Layla tries a dive bomb move. No, he doesn't, so Boss Bygrave continues to hold on to his 2nd place.
Well, Bygrave is making the most of this 2nd position, definitely. Nobody can get that overtaking maneuver done. I combined the word move and maneuver there, but no one can do it, and Gearing is now dropping off the back, which suggests that he's lacking a bit of pace. Maybe his tyres are off after all that action. Bunyan, though, could well be putting Russell Layla under some kind of pressure in any moment. There as Layla goes wide on the exit, that's going to compromise his speed. Layla's exit speed just isn't there, Adam, is it, to benefit from that draft?
Yeah, just as you were talking about pressure, he puts a wheel onto the grass, so definitely he is trying to soak up the pressure, but it doesn't seem to be working now because he is really under pressure now from Stuart Bunyan as we head up to the left-hander. This is where Bunyan managed to get the move done on Gearing last time around. Bunyan runs around the outside. That's definitely not going to help him there. You're not going to get past Russell Layla through there as we head through the left-hander. 5 minutes to go in this opening race here. Watkins, Glen International through the left-hander and down towards the final corner. That move attempt by Stuart Bunyan seems to have given him a bit of a disadvantage because he's now back into the clutches of Aaron Gearing, who's only 0.3 of a second behind as we come across the line.
I have to say, great racing from all of these guys. Very little contact, definitely no foul play from any of these drivers, and it's all just been good, clean fun at the moment. What a great battle, says Mark Guest in the YouTube comments, and I'm inclined to agree. How it will end, I don't know. With only 4 minutes to go in this race, if any of these drivers want to increase their point haul from this race, then we'll have to do it pretty soon. Gearing's got a good run here, though.
And so is Laidler. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. That's Ross Bygrave's now sitting duck, I think. Layla's going to duck to the outside line. Is he going to get the move done? Side by side into the carousel. Layla breaks later than Bygrave round the outside. It's not going to work, surely. And that will allow Bunyan through, and they're going to go through her press. That's not going to work, surely. 3 wides going into the left-hander with the boots. This is so close. Who's giving each other enough room? Look at that. Oh, wow. That was Aaron Gearing round the outside of both of them and up into 3rd place.
Wow, what a move from Gearing. Absolutely top work from him. Cheeky as you like as well. Let's go back and have another look at that one. That battle's not quite over, but look at this coming into the carousel. I have never, coming out of the carousel, I've never seen that 3 wide. Layla too late on the brakes in an attempt to get past Bygrave, and then 3 wide. 3 wide, and now look at this. Gearing is on the outside of this group and still manages to get the jump on all of them. What a great move. As this battle continues, Layla's now side by side, and he's gone wide again. Layla's gone wide again. Bunyan's going to go through at him.
Yeah, so a lap ago, Russell Layla was trying to get 2nd, and now he's trying to get 4th away from Bunyan. Side by side into the left-hander. Bunyan just swoops in front of him, slamming the door shut in Russell Layla's face. That's surely going to hurt for Layla, now dropping down to 5th.
Casual as you like from Ross Bygrave. Sees all the action in his mirrors, just gets on with it. Job as normal, and he is now... Well, he's now favourite to take this one, I think. He's just soaking up that pressure very nicely. But Felipe Porto is still being chased down by Frank Castillo. I cannot believe that Felipe Porto has not been able to drive away from him. Look how close they are as well. Coming down into turn 1 here. They've been like this for laps and laps as Felipe Porto will hold on to that position. But now, here comes Frank Castillo as we come through the S's onto the main straight any moment. Castillo... Can he make this work? The Club de Volante driver up in front. is going to have to hold him off for at least 2 more laps, and this draft means that they're just stuck together like magnets almost. Castillo now looks for the draft. Can he do it?
Let's find out down the back straight. Lap times are 1:52, so we should have another lap or two after this one, as you say, Chris. Down into the carousel, Felipe Porter leaves the door open, but he's able to come across and stop Fran Castillo from getting that 8th place once again. And Castillo, he seems to be getting close to Porto through the latter half of this lap and the beginning of the next one. He doesn't seem to be closing him in through the boot section, so I think Castillo's best opportunity is after the boot into those final 2 corners and the beginning of the lap down the back straight. So watch out for that in these final few laps.
Well, just talking about Team EOR for a second, we lost Stephen Gray there. I'm trying to work out what happened to Stephen Gray. I can't see it on the replay. He seems to have some kind of problem here, and just pulled the car into the pits. I'm not sure if he had some collision earlier in the lap or not, but seems to be fairly clean from... Well, he was doing alright out on the track, but he's shedding positions now. He's in a battle with DeBellis, who's also recovering. But the highest Team EOR driver is Dan Blake in 11th. Not sure if you can work out what happened there with Stephen Gray, Adam.
I'll have a look as we're now starting the final lap of the race. Michael Hall's just coming through now across the line. The gap between second and third, half a second. In fact, he made a pit stop, Chris. That's what's happened. I don't know if he sustained a penalty of some sort for not slowing down sufficiently. But yeah, he's just popped into the pits now, and he's back on his way in 13th place.
Russell Laidler has 1 more lap to get that position back, and he was up to 3rd place at one stage. He's now down in 5th. He's got to take the outside line, which is going to be the long way around the carousel. Last time he tried this, he was very late on the brakes and couldn't make it work. Side by side down to the carousel alongside Stuart Bunyan. Stuart Bunyan's on the brakes. He will have the advantage on the inside. Closes the door. Laidler tries to force it open again. No way round. And can Laidler do it into the next corner?
Yes, I think he will. Down the inside. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? I think it's Laidler. Laidler's got the inside line as well. And I think Bunyan knew that. He's now trying to get the cut back on the exit. He's rubbing the rear of it, and he's sent the Kia Optima all over the place into the blue guardrail on the outside. I wonder if Laidler would try and get him back before the end of the race, but that was just a little bit naughty by Bunyan. He wasn't fully clear, and he's definitely going to allow Laidler to get close to him now because he's just put 2 wheels into the grass.
Well, Michael Hall will come over the finish line any moment, but can we go back and have a look at that one from the point of view of Russell Laidler here on the replay, because Laidler made a fairly clean overtake there, well, a very clean overtake, in fact no faulting him there, and then just a little bit of a nudge on the rear of his car sends him into the barrier and keeps on going. Well, make of that what you will. Michael Hall, though, over the line, takes the victory for CQR in race 1 by a full 10 seconds as well, and Ross Bygrave just coming through now to take 2nd place.
They've both hit each other, Chris. Final corner, Laidler and Bunyan. Bunyan had lost the place to Laidler. Laidler is going to get 4th place. While you were looking at the replay, there was Bunyan went wide going into the final part of the boot section, and that allowed Laidler back through, and just in the final corner there was more contact there.
Well, here's that incident on your screen now. Laidler goes through, and he's just got 2 more corners to go at this point. Now here comes Bunyan. Well, let's watch what happened on the screen here. Bunyan, another very late move from Bunyan. Uncharacteristic for him to make that dive. There was no way of getting through that corner, Adam. I don't feel like he had any legitimate opportunity to overtake there.
Yeah, I think he was a bit frustrated after giving away that place in the final corner of the boot. So I think he's just trying to lunge it up down the inside, Russell Laidler, into a gap that wasn't there. And it didn't pay out in the end because he got 5th place. So he'll be, I think we'll have 14 cars reversed. So he should be in about 8th or 9th place for the 2nd race.
Rusty lucky to hold on to that, says David Baker. Yep, absolutely. But he does take 4th place in that race. Eric Gearing, after that, I'm not sure if it was a master stroke or a stroke of luck going 3 wide out of the carousel, takes 3rd place, Bygrave 2nd, and Michael Hall with a very clear victory in that race after we lost Sam Rosamond, who hasn't rejoined. So, well, let's hope he can make it back for race 2, because he was providing Michael Hall with quite some challenge there. And Plumley 6th, Stevens 7th, Porto up to 8th place after only qualifying 13th. So, good result for him. And Robert Fagg 9th, and then Frank Castillo in 10th place. And a broadcasting tip for you, always put your phone on silent before you start broadcast. Sorry about that, viewers. And got one more race to come, but it's going to make it difficult for Michael Hall, especially if Rosamond is back in, Adam.
Yes, and Michael Hall will be starting from 14th place on the grid for this second race. The cars that finish on the lead lap, they'll be reversed. Ashley Blake Hood was the final car finishing on the lead lap, finishing 1.5 minutes behind the race winner Michael Hall, so he'll be on pole position for race 2. And Stephen Gray, he won race 2 at Zolder for Team EOR. He'll be starting on the front row as well with De Billis, who made a mistake on lap number 1 in race 1 tonight, in 3rd position for race 2.
Well, let's go over now and see if we can have a quick word with Mr. Cheeky himself, Aaron Gearing. How was that, Aaron? A well-earned 3rd place there.
Yeah, it's bloody good, mate.
Yeah, some fantastic racing we saw. Pretty much 3, 4, 5, 6 for most of that race. Was very intense, and it must have been a matter of keeping your concentration up for the whole duration.
Yeah, so it was good fun, mate. I forgot how fun these cars really were.
And did you honestly expect to come out of that alive after you went 3 wide after the carousel there?
No. short and sweet of it, no.
Well, absolutely brilliant racing. And you were telling us beforehand that it's been a while since you've raced a Watkins in the Kia Optima, but it seemed to come right back to you.
Yeah, it's like riding a bike, mate, I think. Just jumped straight back in. I've done 10 minutes practice, qualified, and then that performance, so really happy with it.
Excellent work. Well, we'll let you go and prepare for race 2, but congratulations on your 3rd place.
Cheers, bud.
That's Aaron Gearing there, who was one of the drivers who went 3 wide into after the carousel. It was a shame for Sam Rosamond, a shame for Alessandro De Bellis, who was out quite early, well, out of any decent point scoring position quite early, and the same for Ashley Blake Hood. But these guys will be starting fairly high up. In fact, Ashley Blake Hood should be starting from pole position in race 2. So we could expect some pretty intense racing at the front. But how high can Michael Hall expect to get in this race, Adam, starting effectively from the back?
Well, if Felipe Porta could go from 13th place on the grid to 8th, I think Michael Hall can expect to get inside the tops, and it just depends on how many people in front of him fall off the road at the start.
Well, we're going to have to wait about 10 or 15 minutes to find out. Race 2 is coming your way on Champions of the Future, like I said, in about 10 minutes time. So thanks to everybody who's watched this, either live or recorded, contributed in the YouTube comments. Do hit subscribe if you want more content like this from Champions of the Future. And from me and Adam, we'll see you on the other side.